Hey everyone, we're back with part 2 of diving deeper into the ancestors of the Tazama African Tarot. I did the part 1, I think a day or two ago, because I'm planning them in right now. I'm trying to film them all at once. But then it's a little bit more manageable, because I think the major arcana took about an hour. So we're going to continue. Let me put this one away. According to the booklet, after the majors, we're going into the wands. So we're going to follow the booklet to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So yeah, the Ace of Wands is not in the booklet because, well, we don't see an ancestor in that sense, right? I mean, yeah, we see a hand and a staff or a wand, you know, but there is no ancestor. So we're gonna move that one along. And then we are at the Two of Wands, and you can see here the original painting or picture in that sense. So for the Two of Wands, the Two of Wands ancestor is a young Beja soldier from Somalia. In Somalia, the word waranle means warrior. Carrying his waran and gashan, spear and shield. In Somali society, there is prestige in the position of waranle. Our Two of Wands is the king of all that he surveys. He has the world in the palm of his hands, standing on the pinnacle of his achievement and looking down upon his success. A master of his expanding domain, being in an advantageous position. All Somalia males were considered to have warrior potential. This goes back thousands of years, starting with Somalia civilization in the prehistoric land of Punt from 2500 to 1500 BC. The Somalis had a military alliance with the Kingdom of Kush and the Kingdom of Punt against ancient Egypt. As a result, a culture of military readiness developed from a long and successful history of foreign expansion, colonial occupation, domestic conflict, and wars with neighboring countries. So basically, don't mess with them. Okay, it continues. One example of the many legendary Somali empires is the Ajuran Empire that existed from the 13th to the 17th century. They were very skilled in warfare, making strategic trading connections and alliances. The Ajuran Empire dominated the Indian Ocean trade and was aggressive towards foreign invaders. Trading routes dating from the ancient and early medieval periods flourished, with ships sailing to and coming from many kingdoms and empires all over Asia, Africa, and Europe. They traded with the Chinese Ming Dynasty, the Portuguese, the Ottoman Empire in Turkey, and the Venetian Empire, Venice, Italy, to name a few. The Ajurans also left an extensive architectural legacy of advanced castles, fortresses, a number of pillar tomb fields, necropolises, and ruined cities. So they do have a great legacy. And it's kind of sad, right? I mean, we hear some cultures we hear a lot about. And in all honesty, it might be me, but the legacy of Somalia, or the Somalian people, you know, is not really mentioned that much. And apparently there was a great one to look into. So that's definitely one I want to know more about. Okay, let's continue. Okay, here we see him. This figure, the small boy, is not there. Let's read. Three of Wands. Cuba with K, or Bakuba, man from the interior of Congo, wearing the traditional dress of the Cuba. He is the general counsel of the king, called the Kimi Kambu. The Cuba, the the Cuba have a rich culture with beautiful expressions of art through dance and masks. The Kingdom of Cuba existed from 1625 until 1900 and consisted of 16 different ethnic Bantu-speaking groups. The kingdom was a federation of chiefdoms, each ruled by a chief and 2 or 3 chief council that represented the general population and noble clans. All these clans were able to unite because of a common culture, a group feeling, a royal army, and a common administration. The Cuba have 20 different types of masks that are seen as a physical embodiment of spirits. 3 of these types are Muwash, Amboy, Boom, and Ngadi. Muwash. Again, I'm sorry, I'm probably doing that very, very wrong. Anyway, they are property of the royal family. These masks are used during public ceremonies and to initiate rituals. The mask wearers would play out the story of creation, where the mask called Boom would represent the nature spirit Nagish. Amboy would be his brother, and the 2 of them would battle for the ownership of Ngadi Mawash, which is the wife and the sister of Nagish. Nature spirits and the spirit of dead kings are the main subject in Bakuba spirituality. Nice. We can see influences coming back in other African spirituality types, right? So you can see that there is somewhere a red threads, and yeah, that comes something different per tradition almost. So yeah, I really like that. Okay, they continue. The Cuba have a rich culture with artistic expressions like the production of tapestries, which elaborate Bakuba motifs, with elaborated Bakuba motifs. Sorry, I think you can see here some examples. One particular cloth called velour du Kasai, or Kasai velvet, was originally made with beaten wooden bark of raffia palm and would ideally be made with a weaver who is pregnant. The Bakuba had woven sculptures and ndap of their kings carrying a weapon in its left hand. The sculpture would carry the king's royal charm. I think we can see some of that here. If anything happened to the king during battle, a similar wound would be found on the ndap sculpture. The ndap was kept in a woman's storage, and when one of the women of the king's harem was given birth, it was placed next to her to help her have a safe delivery. After the king's death, it would house the king's life force. The ndap would then be replaced by a storage room and would only be exhibited on occasions. Okay. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, we continue here to the 4 of Wands. We see the complete picture, even the baby on the back here, so that's nice. Okay, let's read. In this image, you can see 3 women with different cultures in the Senegambia area. The first lady is from the island of Gorée and the city of Saint Louis in Senegal. The city is located on the northern coast near the border of Mauritania. They were also called Signar, which indicates they were of both French and African origin. Due to their mixed origin, they usually had access to individual assets, status, and power in the hierarchy of the Atlantic slave trade. The women were able to become entrepreneurs on their own, sometimes even by trading in enslaved people. This created a thriving female bourgeoisie in St. Louis. I think I said that wrong. Marriages between African women and European men were governed by local law, but as European men would rarely stay in Gorée permanently, marriages were often in a state of flux. When married to a European man, women would help them handle their affairs and transactions and earn economic and social status in their community. In this way, women of lower social status could gain power in the community. If a Signar learned that their European husband would indeed not return after leaving Gorée, they would remarry without losing their social status. At set times during the day, the businesswomen would promenade through the city wearing their lavish dresses to flaunt their wealth. Okay. And it continues. So here. There have been many very influential and wealthy signares, to the point that sometimes the Portuguese crown would look for ways to remove them from their wealth or dismantle their power. The lady in the middle is a member of the Fula, Fulani or Fulbe people. This one. The Fula are primarily Muslim and are scattered throughout many parts of West Africa, like in Nigeria, Mali, Guinea, Cameroon, Senegal, and Niger. They are descended from nomads from both North Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. So the Fula were the first group in West Africa to convert to Islam through jihads of holy wars. Central to the Fulani people's lives is a code of behavior, which they call pulaku, that helps them maintain their identity across boundaries and changes of lifestyle. Okay. It is sometimes referred to as Fulaniness. Pulaku consists of 4 basic elements. The first one would be munyal, which is patience, self-control, discipline, and prudence. The second one is gase or gake, sentinde. Okay, I'm sorry. Which means modesty, respect for others, including foes. The third one is hakile, which means wisdom, forethought, personal responsibility, and hospitality. And then the fourth one is sagata or tinade, which means courage and hard work. I mean, I think that are some beautiful, lifestyle basic elements, right? I think that's a very beautiful mindset. Then it ends with saying the third lady is also a Fula woman. I'm assuming this one then. From the borders of Senegambia, which is present-day Senegal and Gambia. Okay, that was interesting, right? And it had some parts you would think like, meh. But again, when you look at the 4 basic elements of their lifestyle in that sense, I think those are very beautiful. But yeah, again, these were different times, of course. I think we need to place everything in its proper context, yeah. And And what I mean by that is, yeah, what will you do to survive, right? So yes, interesting. Okay, let's continue. We see them here also all coming back. Nice. They're from Guinea. Okay. Or at least the thing I will read in a second. So this is, yeah, the Five of Wands. Let's read. In the year 1905, located in Guinea, West Africa, Fulani chief Al-Mami the Timba and his wife were pictured by photographer Francois Edmond Fortier. In the middle, you can see Al-Mami the Timba. So that would be him, the middle one. So in the middle, you see Al-Mami the Timba standing with his wives by his side. So that are all his wives. In Fulani family life, one family includes their next of kin and also extended family. Yes. Groups of family tend to live and join in work efforts. I made a similar statement in my deck, yeah. Yeah, okay. Al-Mami and his family lived in the Futa Jalon highland region in the heart of Guinea. They sometimes call this area the water tower of West Africa because of the heavy rain that falls during the rainy season between June and October. The landscape is majestically lush, green, and full of waterfalls. The Fulani in this area are settled with cattle and cultivate the lands. The area is densely populated because of its fertile land. Yes, of course, I think people always flock to, yeah, where they can work, and especially in those days where they can plant their crops and stuff. So yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, the man with all his women. Okay, that's the 5. Although I'm thinking now, let me see something, because even though I read a certain way, I just want to see. Yeah, okay, because what they say in their general meaning, competition and sport, lots of people are fighting for the same resources. Because yeah, conflict, number 5, right? So yes, okay, I can, for a second I could not place it, but yeah, I can place it, and why that was used, you know. Okay, let's continue to the 6 of Wands. We don't have that much text, so we will see. We can see him here on the horse. Yeah. The chief of Tumenia, also in Guinea, is sitting on his horse while being accompanied by 2 griots who are carrying their loot. The village of Tumenia used to be an important village for trade caravans to pass through. Okay. Well, that's all. That's not much, but that's all. I mean, of course, we could do our own research to looking into that village, right? What kind of with what kind of people they traded in the region or even outside of their region. But that's, yeah, that's a start, right? We can dig from there ourselves. So yes. Okay. The 7 of Wands. Also not too much, but yeah, you can see him here. This would have been a broom in the original picture, which is now a stick, but still nice, right? Okay, let's read. The 7 of Wands. The ancestor in this image was a Mandingo hunter from Upper Guinea. His picture was taken in 1905. The Mandingo were mostly hunting-oriented people. The Mandingo were mostly hunting-oriented peoples. Hunters from the Ghana Empire founded the Mandinka country in Mandin. Okay, that's not really much also. So they were hunting other people. Okay, we need to look into that one. Okay. Well, here we don't have see, it will tell it, you know, it says no ancestors to see here, just some ones on an African hillside. Enjoy the view. Okay, so that was not much, huh? So let's continue with 9 then. Okay, but where is this picture? Do we see it on the next page as well? Or not? Okay, let's read and find out. Because this one is the 9 of Wands. The ancestor in 9 of Wands is a Kanembu spearman. The Kanembu are an ethnic group living in Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. In the spirit of the 9 of Wands, you have to watch yourself and your projects. You might have to watch your back and keep healthy boundaries. Kanembu soldiers were known for their ability to protect their empire from outside forces and quickly learn from new influences, be it attackers from neighboring states, from Arab countries, or from European countries. This agility enabled them to survive for as long as they did. To this day, they are more influential than government authorities. Oh, wow. We need to know more about this one. That is interesting, right? Especially nowadays. But it continues. So let's keep reading. I'm still looking as to where this picture came from. Okay. The Kanembu are the descendants of the Kanem-Bornu Empire, which was a dominant power in Central and North Africa for 1,000 years, originating in the 8th century from nomadic people. This empire was a wealthy state enriched by trade relationships across the Sahara with North Africa and Arab merchants. Their camel caravans reached up to the holy city of Mecca. This Kanem-Bornu Empire was remarkable because of its size and longevity. Due to their Northern African and Arab contacts, they started to convert to Islam mid-13th century. Their practice is Islam mixed with African traditional beliefs. Okay. In all honesty, we still don't get where this picture originated. I'm assuming that they don't have access to, well, the original anymore then. Because, again, am I crazy or am I not seeing it? Because I'm even looking here, you know. But they all have a different kind of posture, so, well, maybe it's me. But yes. Okay, that was the 9. Interesting. Very interesting. See, we learn new things every day. I think I've heard about them in the sense of, I had a friend who came from Algeria, and I think he talked about these people, that they really were nomadic in the way they roamed the Sahara desert, you know. But still, I didn't know more than that really about them. Okay, let's continue with the 10 of Wands. Yeah, this is clear, right? We see that coming back. He looks like he's ready. Okay, the 10 of Wands. Our 10 of Wands is Al-Hajj Omar, born in the Fouta Toro near the town of Podar on the Senegal River in 1794. He is part of the Tukulur people. I don't think I said that right. Also called Tukulor or Halpular, who are a West African ethnic group native to the Fouta Toro region of Senegal. There are smaller communities in Mali and Mauritania. They speak the Pular language and are distant from but related to the Fula, Wolof, and Serer people. I think I know about Pular because I think it's also called a language in Guinea, if I'm not mistaken. My daughter might know. Anyway, yes, I just asked her and she says yes. So the native tongue from at least a tribe, a part of Guinea, is called Pular. So yes, that's kind of funny. Okay, so his father was a Muslim teacher. Young Omar was educated by prominent Muslim scholars of the Tijan. I should know that because it's almost like the name of her father, of the Tijaniya Brotherhood. Okay. One of whom persuaded him to make the pilgrimage to Mecca in 1826. The pilgrimage and Omar's subsequent sojourn in Mecca was the turning point in his life. In 1849, Omar was forced to move to the town of Dinguirai, near the headwaters of the Niger River, from where he launched a series of small wars against the local non-Muslim states. Okay, I found this very interesting because even though they talk about Senegal, there is no word about Guinea. And like I said, the name, yeah, they say the Pular language, yes. And even this, it's like a name nowadays. It's very well known in that region, you know. This is very interesting. Okay, but they talk more, so let's continue. But yeah, I want to read more about this one. Okay, by 1852, Omar believed his forces were sufficiently strong to declare holy war against all those who would not accept Islam, and later even against Muslims who would not acknowledge Muslim teachings. He later became a political leader, an Islamic scholar, and a military commander who founded a brief empire accompanying much of what is now Guinea, Senegal, and Mali. Ah, okay, see, this makes sense. The Toucouleur Empire he founded existed between 1861 and 1890. Okay. Ah, see, this makes sense. This makes sense. Oh, that's interesting. I need to teach my daughter that. I think she will like that. Okay. Well, a few more for the wand suit. This is the page of wands. The page of the wands original image states Sais. Sais is a servant responsible for the horses. The word stems from Arabic, which means stableman or groom. It can also mean to tend a horse. Illustrated in the year 1875 along the River Nile, the name or other personal details of this black Egyptian stableman are unknown, as the originating book 4,000 Miles of African Travel, a personal record of a journey up the Nile and through the Sudan of the continents of Central Africa, embracing the discussion on the sources of the Nile and examination of the slave trade. Okay, that was a long title. So let's go back to there. So the black Egyptian stablemen are unknown, as the originating book was to document people. The person in the illustration was an actual person, but who exactly remains a mystery. Okay. And again, that's so beautiful, right? Now he will go in time, at least in the foreseeable future, as the page of wands, so that ancestral spirit gets that veneration, gets that pop of energy back, you know. I like. Okay, let's continue. Okay, here the book was wrongly printed, but it doesn't matter. So we go with the Knight of Wands. I mean, it's clear, we see him here. The mighty knight on his horse is the horseman of the guard of the ruler of the Jerma state in what is currently southwest Niger. Many people of the Jerma are also found in neighboring Nigeria and Benin. His armor and that of his horse are quilted. The Jerma horse was a special breed of horse. It has a light build and a dark brown color and was considered a sign of wealth. They were held in high esteem in this part of Africa. The owners would adorn the horse with colorful fabrics, fringes, and braids. The riders would adorn themselves too and wear royal colors like burgundy, red, purple, and blue. The horse was a small horse, but a very fast runner. As the horses usually have a good temperament, they could also be used by children and women. The Jerma, also referred to as Zerma, Zaberma, Jerma, and Yerma, without the D, but Zarma is the term that the people use for themselves. So that would be preferred, right? I mean, if that's the name they choose themselves, Zarma. Okay, I hope I say that correct. Okay, it continues. From Islamic historical documentation after the 8th century, the Arabs already traded with the Zarma before the 8th century, and this profitable trade was motivation to colonize this area. As the Zarma people converted to Islam, this caused the trade with North African Muslims to increase, and adding to the wealth of the Zarma and their chiefs. In general, the Zarma had a less strict practice of Islam and have in many ways resisted the full conversion experience. And although about 80% of the Zarma consider themselves to be Muslim and only 2% Christian, traditional African spiritual systems serve as an unrecognized grounding belief for all Zarma. One of the African traditions is the ritual of the naming day ceremony of children, where prayers are bestowed upon the newborn after 7 days of birth, which is interesting. Because this is also a Muslim tradition. So if they say it comes from Zarma itself, how did that spread then? Oh, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. Because as I understood it, it is already an Islamic tradition. 7 days after the birth is the official naming of a baby, of a child. But here it's called like the Zarma spiritual beliefs. So how did that become then an Islamic tradition that even I know about, you know? Interesting. We need to know more. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. See? Because then they printed one wrong, which is not the end of the world. But here we go to the Queen of Wands. Madame Yoko, or Mami Yoko, circa 1849 and 1906, was a leader of the Mende people in Sierra Leone, combining advantageous lineage, shrewd marriage choices, and the power afforded her by the secret Sunday Society. Yoko became a leader of considerable influence. Sorry. She expanded the Mende kingdom, and at the time of her death, she was the ruler of the vast KPA Mende Confederacy. Madame Yoko, originally called Soma, was born around 1849 in the Gbo chiefdom. Gbo, I say that right, Gbo or something, a chiefdom. She changed her name to Yoko at her Sunday initiation ceremony, during which time she became known for her graceful dancing. Yoko's first marriage, which was unsuccessful, was to a man named Gongoima. Gongoima? After leaving Gongoima, Yoko's second husband was Gbenje, chief of Tazama. Although Yoko remained childless, Gbenje made her his head wife, giving her economic power within her household. Following Gbenje's death, Yoko married Gbanja Lango. In 1875, Gbanja was detained by British colonial officers. Yoko went directly to appeal for her husband's release. Following this incident, Gbanja made Yoko his head wife and began sending her on diplomatic missions. With the Sunday, Yoko was able to wield significant power among women and mended society as a whole. As a leader in this secret woman's society, she made political alliances and took younger initiates as wards, later marrying them into other lineages. In 1878, following her third husband's death, Yoko became the chief of Senahun. By 1884, she was officially recognized as Queen of Senegal. See the medal she received from Queen Victoria. Okay, it's probably the one she's wearing. Okay. Interesting again. A strong woman. I love her for the Queen of Wands power. That energy, that fiery, passionate energy. Yeah, good choice. I like that. You can see that thought was given to who was portrayed where, I think, which is important, right? Maybe with some we need to think a little bit, but yeah, I can see it. I can see it, especially with this one. Okay, the last one for this part 2, which is the King of Wands. A beautiful picture. The original King of Wands was, in real life, the most inspirational and iconic woman. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Let me check again. Okay. She is one of the greatest female activists and politicians, from Lagos, Nigeria. Her name was Alimoto Pelewura. I think I said that wrong. Born in 1865 of Yoruba descent from a wealthy polygamous Muslim family in Lagos. Like her mother, she became a fish seller on the market, and quite a successful one at that. Although she was illiterate and not formally educated, she founded the Lagos Market Women's Association in the mid-1920s and served as its president until her death in 1951. The association pushed for women's rights was helped to spread a sense of nationalism in a time colonized by the British. In the 1930s, the government decided to move the Ereko market. They decided to move the Ereko market. In protest, Pelewura and local women physically blocked this relocation. Okay, I love her. Which led her to get arrested. Oh my God. The market women rallied in her support and got her and other detainees released. Woohoo! In 1939, she became a member of the Nigerian Union of Young Democrats and spoke publicly during rallies of the Nigerian National Democratic Party. From then on, Pelewura contributed a great deal by fighting against market women's taxation and unfair price regulations in produce. Okay, I love this woman, and I love her as the king. Okay, there's a little bit more, so let's continue. Pelebura was given the honorary title of Erelu of the common people in 1947 by Falolu, the Oba king of Lagos. Nice. For radically representing and fighting for the interest of women. Eleru is a chief tenancy exclusive for women, the highest position for a woman to achieve in Nigeria. Like a true king of wands, Ali Motu was an inspiring, courageous, and powerful leader. Some might even say she is one of the greatest women in the history of Nigeria. On March 10, 1951, close to 10,000 people showed up for her funeral on Lagos Island. A market was named after Pelewura in 1981. Okay, that was a great ending of the wands, right? Okay, we like her. We like her. Okay, so yeah, this was the wands. I think some great stories, right? Very interesting. Yeah, now when you look, certain things pop up, right? So yeah, very interesting. I definitely want to do some research into some of the cards. And now definitely the king. I want to see what's more out there, you know. But yeah, that are great stories in that sense, right? I do think we had what, like 2 or 3 with less. One didn't have a picture then with the 8 of wands, and 2 we had some less information. But again, I think a great composition, you know, of these ancestors, that first initial spark to get us going, right? Because again, I had this deck for quite some time already, but now, yeah, it definitely adds that extra layer. And I only read this like, well, maybe twice now, certain parts, but let's say once for all then. But yeah, this is great. I really like this. So yeah, we did now the majors and the wands. Yeah. So this is the end then of part 2. We will be back with part 3, and then we will go and dive deeper into the ancestors of the Suit of Cups, you know. Okay, anyway, I want to thank you for watching again. I hope to see you soon with part 3. Until then, thank you for watching. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.